So I'm starting the recording now. No, it's okay. We're not live yet, but we're going to be live very shortly.
Okay.
No fooling around now. Come on now, Danielle. Smarten up. Whoa, watch out. Bring in some garlic. Somebody was saying they're more into gardening than, oh yeah, a student is applying for one of the courses I'm giving. And he says, he quotes Brian Eno. Brian Eno relationship to music is more like a gardener rather than a musicologist. So I thought that was beautiful, yeah. And I have some slides which will come up.
You could have some hard neck garlic and play the drums with it.
Yeah.
It would probably be a good sound.
I bought some today from Turkey. I was just trying.
The hard neck?
Yeah, and they were in the store in the Sobeys, and I bought a couple of packages. They were only charging $1.49 for. They weren't organic, I don't think.
She's opening the room, so people will start arriving.
Yeah. Okay. So we're now live.
Yeah. I got a sign that says we are live.
You're live.
We're live. You can start, Danielle, if you want.
Okay.
We're ready to go. Yep.
Okay, salut tout le monde. Thanks for being here. But before we start, I'd like to take the time to honor the traditional guardian of this land we all know as Canada. The GNO is very grateful for the space it occupies on the ancestral grounds of the Atikamekw, Mi'kmaq, and Anishinaabeg. I would also like for us to remember that the city of Greater Sudbury is built on the territory of Nenswakamuk, which includes Wahnapitae First Nations. Let's take a moment. We're all in different places in Canada to honor and pay respect to the land wherever we are standing and the people that were here long before the arrival of the settlers. Bon. Now I'd like to introduce Jason, and I'm thanking him to accept to animate this talk with Michael. And Michael for the wonderful experience we've had with you. And so here you go. I'm leaving the place to both of you, but before, Laura will be giving you a few instructions.
So just a few notes. This webinar is being recorded. However, none of you will be visible, or all of your microphones will also stay muted, so you don't have to worry about that. If ever you do have a question for our panelists, Jason and Michael, feel free to use the Q&A function at the bottom of the screen. The panelists will try to address the questions as they go, but if they don't get to them, we can always respond to those questions towards the end of the presentation. And en français, si vous voulez poser des questions à Michael puis à Jason, vous pouvez toujours utiliser la fonction Q&A dans le bas de votre écran. On va essayer de répondre aux questions au fur et à mesure, mais si jamais on n'a pas le temps de le faire de ce format-là, on peut le faire à la fin aussi. Je pense que c'est tout pour moi. Je te laisse la parole, Jason.
Merci. Thank you to the Galerie du Nouvel Ontario for hosting this unusual virtual talk. And I say unusual because Michael and I had conversations leading up to this and decided to do things a little bit differently. So it's kind of like a Pecha Kucha meets Night at the Improv. So we each selected about 10 images each. We haven't shown each other those images. Some of them are, in direct relation to Michael's work. Some, are small surprises. So that's sort of how we've decided to structure this conversation. So who is Michael Fernandez? So for those of you in the art world that have been living under a rock for the past 40 years, I'll read out his bio. So Michael Fernandez is many things: an interdisciplinary artist, an educator, an improvisational musician, a gifted ping pong player, and an avid garlic farmer, among others. Born in Trinidad in 1944, he immigrated to Canada in the 1960s, living in Montreal and Toronto before settling in Nova Scotia. Michael has taught at the Nova Scotia College of Art and Design since 1973. In describing his work, Michael rejects many notions associated with a conventional understanding of art. For him, there is no framing of what art is and is not. Everyday actions and objects all have something to contribute. In turn, he considers his life an evolving artwork, something which can be shared with a public audience, but does not have to be. These ideas are explored through painting, photography, sculpture, video, performance, and installation. Michael Fernandez has exhibited extensively in galleries across Canada and internationally. His work was included in Traffic, Conceptual Art in Canada, 1965 to 1980, a nationally touring exhibition which positioned his work within the concepts of the Fluxus movement and conceptual art. In 1920, he received the Governor General's Award in Visual and Media Arts. So before we start our conversation, we'll take a look at a 3-minute video that, despite its short length, really manages to capture the spirit of a singular artist named Michael Fernandez. Let's watch.
Hello, my name is Michael Fernandez. You won't believe this, but last night I went to bed thinking of these socks. I thought today, before my guests arrive, I will remove this line. Tried to get these off and they were stuck. They're frozen in here. And I said, well, I'm pretty sure these socks are gonna come in handy someday. I'm not so much a maker. I'm more interested when it's not art and how that can expand on the conversation of art. I don't like the word practice. I don't like rehearsal as a studio practice, which some people tend to have. It's not for me. The studio is everywhere. It's right here. I've been living here for 30 years now. Paradise to me, it's everything for me. There's something here that is rudimentary. You're closer to the elements. It's more freeing. You know, I don't feel self-conscious here. I'm not known here, and that's fine. I'm not known anywhere. I like that. Anonymity. Yeah. I seem to be tending everything, whether it's something I'm making or something I'm finding. I'm also part-time working as a teacher. I was one of the founding members of Eye Level Gallery. That's where I cut my teeth. Couldn't have been standing here without it. But these are only part of this group. I've been part of this group for over 30 years. It's a band called the Barbies Upstairs, and it's improvised music. Not a musician by any means, but I love it. Openness and spontaneity and a sense of curiosity. As an artist, I think it's not separate, which is important. It's an attitude for me that I bring to anything. Are you still enjoying this? We all are. I look forward to it every day, every time. And it's always like, what is it going to be? I have no idea, but I'm going. I'm going for it. That's it. I think I'm a model for me in a way that is unfolding. Sonny Rollins, a recent interview, I heard him say, when he was asked, Sonny, you're in your 80s now, you're getting closer to your sound. I never thought that. He said, I feel I would end, if there's such a thing, you know, like nothing comes to a stop. It's freeing to understand that. Thank you so much. Have a safe drive home, people. Cheers. Woo!
So this must be one of your images, Michael, and it looks like it's where you live.
Yeah, that's on the Dartmouth side of Halifax. So I'm on the other side, the twin city. You know, I'm looking towards Halifax from the Dartmouth side, the water's edge, and I'm gathering. You know, happened to find this top, beautiful top, that I folded up, and I do a lot of scrummaging and received a lot of gifts, actually, a lot of washed up stuff. I usually procure and take great interest in what comes around, what comes in and what goes out. So this is me in the image. And I'm also thinking, I had titled it with another image, the title being Don't Let the Old Man In. And I was speaking to myself in terms of myself, in terms of getting on and seeing the problems per se, rather than the benefits of age. And yet being somewhat a wanderer and a nomad or a homeless. Homeless in the idea that, yes, I do have a home, but without settling. This analogy to keeping things fresh, keeping things alive, finding and being curious, keeping that sense of curiosity always. And this image for me, carries that about feeling of not only age, but that sense of not knowing, and also a sense of discovery. And being at the edge, the water's edge, or where land and water meet, has a nice kind of flow and ebb and sense of being part of everything. So I like the positioning of the person here. And even though it's me, I'm speaking for me, but not just about me. I'm also thinking about not being alone with this way of being. So it's an interesting image for me in that way. It's kind of biographical, but I also see humanity in it as well, in great migrations and dealing with people coming to new spaces, coming from overseas, coming from abroad, and settling, not settling. So the image is triggering and provoking a sense of the fringe of life, yet it's a very rich place to be, but sometimes it bears out to be more difficult than it can be embraced, But I think if we embrace this notion of not settled, homelessness in sense of, yes, I know there are people who are homeless, and I am not homeless, but sometimes I feel homelessness is looked upon as a place of to be dismissed, like a place of not having. But I also tend to see it, even having a home, I see homelessness brings a kind of openness and a sense of just refreshment to it all, that nothing is forever, nothing is permanent, everything is in passing. And this image kind of resonates with all this exchange of elements and a sense of occupation, and just being on a journey sometimes. And
So I'm wondering, when you're, scavenging and finding what many of us would consider to be detritus or garbage, that maybe you have a certain empathy towards these objects that, many of us don't pay attention to, and in a way you want to bring life back to those objects. Like what motivates you when you pick something up?
well, there are many things, and it's not nostalgic for sure. It's not with nostalgia. It's more with usefulness and a reflection on having and not having, and also a feeling for things that we can enjoy, that when we do enjoy them, we forget that they're also temporarily. There's a temporal quality to everything, temporal quality to life as we know it, physically, anyway. And my gathering is more with a sense of dreaming or a sense of not knowing. I would see something and can't figure it out. I'd be more interesting to me rather than what it is. And when I make work, if I do make work, the idea that to illustrate something is interesting from the point of view of depiction, but in the showing of, or the sharing, or with the empathy for something, you're searching for an openness with that thing that could sit with anyone in a different way. So it doesn't have to be knowing precisely what this thing is about that gets me interested in anything. It's a sense and a feeling of where and what and why, and all these questions that could be, for some people, answered quite easily. But for me personally, it begins with a sense of wonder. And I would like the work that comes out of something that is found, or anything that I sit down to make, to have a resonance in some kind of relevancy to being alive today. So it's a reflection for sure. And it's with a reflection with a certain amount of honoring, or provision for, it's an important moment, it's an important time, it's exciting, it's there's no other time than this is the opportunity. It's not a lessening of chances, it's an increasing of it's a heightening of need, so we are driven by difficulties that create moments of bigger, more abundance for creativity. The stressing of something is certainly a way to provide something else, rather than to buckle on under the negation or the absence. We tend to quit the movement forward, or quit the. We tend to compare. We want to compare. Things were better, or things were not as good, or things, all these moments of weighing, which I tend to feel somewhat non-existent when something triggers me. I'm looking at it fresh. I'm getting a feel for, like, it's never been seen before, or it's never been acted on, or so it definitely is not nostalgia. It's not with its histories or what it may mean or where it came from or whatever that is. Generally, It's just an openness to the possibilities of anything. So when, like you said earlier on in your remarks, in your introduction, that the business about doesn't have to be conventional, it doesn't have to look like art. To me, that kind of bridge or identifies the activity with every profession, every field of life, rather than like no practice, no rehearsal means there's a certain innocence that we all can tune into or share where the field is leveled, rather than I know something, therefore my understanding is greater. The understanding is still measured in terms of the bigger picture. What is the bigger picture? The bigger picture is unpredictable. So sometimes I think the ideal is definitely what is unpredictable.
So you, maybe we can move on to the next image because I got a sneak peek and I know it's mine. It's just the book from a fairly influential exhibition that I got to see in Vancouver at the Vancouver Art Gallery some years ago. And you were part of that exhibition. And, I remember walking through that show and thinking to myself, because we often, people in the art world often romanticize the 70s, right? Everything that was happening around NASCAD, all these international artists coming, it seemed to be like a big soup of culture happening at that time. And as you mentioned, people were sort of stretching the limits of what we at that time considered to be art. And I wonder if you can talk about your practice within this like larger movement of conceptual art in Canada and internationally.
Well, really, I know my history there, and it's been a great one with my relationship to NASCAD. But I was always and still am very loosely connected to that institution in many ways, in different ways now than it was then. Being more specific, when Vida Akanshi came to NASCAD, I followed him. I never met him. I sat next to him. I never officially introduced myself or anything like that. But I did exactly what he did with other people. I knew the piece of following, one of those early pieces. So I decided I would follow him. I spent the whole day following him. And then where we ended up, I just sat next to him, but he didn't seem to be aware of me, and I acted neutrally. That kind of relationship, him being who he is and that legacy that he brought, has influenced me greatly. Yet at the same time, for me personally, I felt I had a lot to learn. I figure part of my coming to Nova Scotia was particularly to Halifax was because of NASCAD. I heard of NASCAD outside of Nova Scotia. I first was in Montreal. I heard of NASCAD, and I wanted to be part of that. But I didn't know what that was. I just felt it was exciting from what I heard that was happening there. And when I did arrive here in '73, there was a certain amount of, I wouldn't say formality, but it was already going. The engine was already rolling, and it was rolling along without me. So I was like an outsider looking at it, appreciating and definitely being encouraged and supported by some of the interests. But I was not really in on it totally. I can say I was not part of the gang. I was never. As a matter of fact, in the history, my history is not part of it. My history, in a lot of the information, is obscured or dismissed. Somehow I don't exist. I knew what I did, but when I look at it, I don't see the recording of it. Yet I know it was recorded, and by some means, the gatekeepers, and this is how it is in the world, made a selection. And within that selection, not everybody was, brought forward. And personally, and it's a fact for me. I was not very, I don't think I was that present in other people's, worlds.
But it seems to me that in recent years, there's, a new kind of attention being paid to your work. And I wonder if people realize that they made a mistake in not giving you the credit you deserve back then, and you're getting a lot of that now. And there are other images that I've selected that will talk about some of your other exhibition projects of late. But yeah, I just wanted to sort of bring that up. Okay, well, here we go. So Mass MoCA was rumored to be the largest exhibition of Canadian art ever mounted on planet Earth, and you were part of that. And I wonder how that came about, because I understand the curator made all kinds of studio visits in Canada. And so I wonder how that connection happened, and then how the work was received as part of the larger exhibition.
Yeah, well, Denise Marconish came to Canada. She traveled from east to west, spent a lot of time doing this. And I happened to be on a list. And I got a call, and the choice was, like all other meetings with curators, they say I could come to your studio. And in all cases, I tend to meet outside of the studio. And I told her that I will meet you at the Blue Nose restaurant, which is a favorite placement across from the college, and a Greek restaurant that I would go to and have, meet friends and meet everybody. So I have classes there sometimes, continuing there. And it's a family restaurant, and I like them, and it has a family atmosphere. And I met Denise there, and something was very immediate about her. I remember telling my colleagues I had never met somebody from the administrative part, in the art world, that had such a, I felt very connected with her thinking, and with just being with her. She felt like an old sock or something. We got along, it was like on fire. Like we were just, I don't even know, can't remember what we talked about, but it seemed like it was just right. And I didn't have to prove anything. I didn't have to show anything. She just included me. And I remember when my friends were asking me about the visit, and they also had a very similar with her. Even the ones that were not selected in the end felt that she connected with such a range and openness. And that, to me, I started recognizing, and that's part of answering your question, people like her that meant something to me gave me some confidence, and recognize something that was not in the previous administration or back to that catalog that you showed was missing, because I was not present in that way. I didn't present myself. I was always in the background. I'm still a certain degree shy, but not as shy as I was then. Then, when I saw all the stars You know, to me, it was amazing. It was amazing. I felt honored to be under the same roof, really. And Boyce was here, and I mean, I didn't have a thing to say. I thought I could have asked them questions, but I went blank.
Hmm.
And now probably I have too much. And having too much is this. It means that there's no room for openness, right? You're filled. So as I come along, I have to be conscientious of this. Now this
Well, you know,
is interesting. This image is interesting. For a second there, I was trying to figure it out, but I know.
well, you know, you recently won the Governor General's Award, and it was, you know, a bizarre year because, you know, it was the start of the pandemic. There was controversy around her tenure, and this is, you know, kind of a funny image to include. I was just curious, did you ever talk to her? Did she congratulate you? How did it all come about? It seemed like this was the year where the Governor General's Awards were a bit buried compared to other.
Yeah. Haven't received the medal yet.
Oh
Haven't
my-
even received the medal. We got the money, but we never received the honoring and all the because of COVID, we couldn't travel. So I never met her. I never had the chance. But I did make a work with the intentions to meet her. And that was I don't know if you saw the show at the Alberta Art Gallery,
Mhm.
but the garment for unprecedented times was designed for me to wear to meet her with the interest of having a conversation.
Huh.
That's my pregnancy outfit,
Oh yeah.
which we will see. We have an image of that. It will come up. But it never happened. So when the show, I put it in the show, but it wasn't to be in the show. It was to be part of the meeting with her. I was looking forward to a meeting in this way, where I was giving birth. I was going to tell her I was pregnant with a boy and, you know, start a conversation and see how she would, because I knew friends who met her and met the prime minister also in the same meeting. And they had very good things to say about her. And there were a couple of artists that met her and told me positive things long before the award, just earlier on, you know,
Hmm.
who is this person? And they told me good things. Then I started receiving from other people, and more recently, you know, this person doesn't care much about other artists who were disappointed with her. Even musicians, I started getting feedback that they didn't like how she was handling the position. So that was my thing. And as I was going into the show, I designed this outfit with this kind of idea that I wanted to do something involving gender, wanted to do something involving age, and something and the impracticalities of those things, confused, and being wearing it with a commitment, wearing it with a sense of not just being a joker or a comedian, but with seriousness to meet her and thank her and have I wanted to have a conversation with her. I don't know how it would have gone, but I wanted to put myself in this precariousness to elicit some kind of, you know, something there could have happened, never happened. So I put the piece in the show, and yeah, this is good. This is good timing. What come up here, I consider doing what I have to do so I can do what I want to do. It's about everything I feel, you know, and that to me is what success is. You know, I'm successful because I'm doing what I want to do. And when people ask me, I've been asked this question, what do you think, what is success for you? I said, you know, I'm successful. And they say, how are you successful? I don't see you. They're looking for the science. So I said, well, you know, I'm doing what I want to do. What could be more successful than that? I mean, everybody's telling me they're doing something, but they want to do something else. They're not successful. I mean, you know, why? Why not? Why not do what you want to do? We all have that opportunity. Well, for some reason, we say, in order to do that, I cannot be successful. So therefore, I am successful doing this. I don't want to do that. We make these choices. Doing what I have to do so I can do what I want to do. That also means taking care of business, you know, taking care of what is necessary to give you the allotment, whether it's time or space or, you know, to get on with it. It's clearing the table, right? It's giving you some kind of practicality, some sense of clarity to see what's what, you know. Yeah, I have to support myself. I never felt that because I'm an artist, I should live for my work. That's not something that I'm interested in. Yes, I need money. Yes, I need to live, but I'm also prepared to do anything. I was that for a very long while. I did a lot of things. I continue, as I get older, that's one of the things. Climbing ladders become a little harder, but I still climb ladders, but it's not as easy as it was. But when I was climbing ladders in the beginning, I knew that this is what I could do to pay the rent, to afford my dreaming, what I want to do. So I was easy very early to understand I'm going to support what I want to do by ways I could help. You know what I mean? Like, so I don't see that I have to do this or I have to do that. I mean, the business about you know, changing your what they call, you recreate your image or what. I don't think of it as a motivation. I don't think of it as a. It's not something that I plan. It's not something I'm thinking of at all. But I feel I do move, and why not? I do have the freedom because I give myself the freedom. See, like, so this image, I thought this image is partially in the suit. I was on a phone. This image was taken. This is a real phone call at the seamstress, the person who made the garment for me, and this was the undergarment, which is a onesie. The onesie, you know, the kids, we wear onesie. So here's this elder, this senior citizen in a onesie, pregnant. What was interesting here is mostly girlfriends, and this is interesting. Not so much the men, but the females that I know, that I'm close with. Most of them, when I sent them this image, especially the ones that I had not seen or heard, you know, for a while, immediately, Michael, what's going on? Are you okay? Or they started telling other friends, they got this picture of Michael, he doesn't seem well. Like, it was all looked at negatively, physical problems, rather than, whoa, this is interesting, you know, which is what I thought I was doing. Why not? I'm saying, you know, I seem comfortable. You know, it seemed like I've embraced the idea. Why not? I like it. So, and this was a real phone call. So while I was trying on the costume, somebody phoned, I took up the phone, and this is in her house. And anyway, this picture, I like this picture better than the one that puts it all on. You know, this was natural. And it seemed to emote that kind of, I wanted to have that kind of feeling with the conversation with the Governor General.
I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall for that.
Yeah, I wanted that space. Me too. You know, I'm there.
Uh, oh, okay. So this is one of my images of an artist that I've followed for many years, Roy Vara from Finland, who's also kind of an artist who's sort of lived his art in many ways. And this is a still from a video that he made called Artist's Dilemma. And I thought I'd see what your thoughts are between that sort of balance between art and life.
Yeah, well, there's no balance. It's all the same. You know, it's not one on one side and art is on one side, life is on the other. It's the same. For me, they're both. It's like the drop of water in the ocean. It becomes the ocean. It's a drop. It's in the ocean. It's all water. So the art and life. When I look at this image, what it centers to me is the split, and he's obviously aware of that. So he seemed this image. He's positioned himself under the art banner, and that's what I'm reading here.
Oh, but in the video, he kind of hovers between both, brings out a pair of binoculars and looks at both sides and doesn't make a decision by the end of the video. He just kind of stands there and the camera moves back.
Well, it is a commentary for sure. I get a sense of life complexities, art within that is somehow drawing on the separation of the two. See, like I look at those two words and don't see any difference. And for me as a practitioner, I would hope that's how you receive my work, as no different. Like in terms of like when I say I'm not interested in making things that look like art, it's just a way of saying I don't know what art is. And I'm not interested in pretending to know what art is, because I don't think that's relevant. You know, it's like these titles. These titles are not significant in any journey, in any inquisitive, in any research or exploration. You simply are thrown into on your feet, or on your head, on your side, or however. You're going for it with a sense of abandonment of knowing, abandonment of identifying, all the categorization, all the binary things that we use. You see.
So then let me ask you this question, because there's a lot of your work that's quite ephemeral. And if I had to imagine a retrospective of your work at the National Gallery of Canada, what would it look like? Is it even possible?
Kitchen sink. Kitchen sink. I've been told that, right? Michael, your work is like the kitchen sink. But when I'm told that, I know the person who's telling me that says there's nothing. It's everything, nothing, meaning. You know what I mean? It's too, when you diffuse or you belittle or you just dwindle, it's too many parts, it becomes less. And I'm saying that's life. Don't try to make order of it. See, this is interesting how these images are flowing. For me, it's like, yeah, these rocks joining other rocks. I thought that was a big discovery, like these rocks. I found these rocks. This is an image. This is the street in front of where I live. So all of a sudden I came on one there and these rocks are there. I said, whoa, it happened overnight. these rocks were deposited there out of nowhere. I don't know what they were doing and how they came there, but I immediately thought, wow, these rocks are joining the other rocks. And then I thought about it. I said, shit, that's all we are doing. We rocks are joining all the rocks. Art is being joined, to everything. Creativity is a part of everything. You don't have to be an artist to be creative, right? You don't have to go to art school to become an artist. You could have a PhD in art, doesn't mean you're a great artist, doesn't mean you're a better artist than somebody who has nothing that decides to be an artist. You know what I mean? And that's the thing about art. You don't need a license. I need a license to practice as a lawyer. I need a license to practice as a cop. I need a license to drive a car. I don't need a license to make art. Unless I think, and then I go to school and I go for a PhD, and now I'm going for my doctorate. To become an artist, it's a joke.
Yeah, I mean,
I took my foundation students at NASCAD. We had a show a couple of years ago of the first. I think they were coming from what's that adjoining country to Australia? New Zealand. Yeah.
mhm.
This was the first PhD in art show, right? Doctorate program in art that I saw. I took my foundation students to see it. And they were looking at it and saying, whoa, we are like them. We are like them. I thought that was a brilliant observation. We are like them. They weren't looking at it and saying, and mystified by anything. They felt genuinely connected in a way and not inferior or not superseded, where I think the people who hosted that show were trying to show us that the doctorates were somewhere else. A person beginning who saw it as being like them, I want to be that person, not the PhD. If that person had that understanding and looking at that work with those eyes, those filters, we're seeing beyond the curtain. I like that. So these rocks, oh yeah, this is interesting. This is an image. Somebody sent me this image. It was in two parts. One was, it happened in Lawrencetown, a place in Nova Scotia where the fishermen hauled in a swordfish. Now, we have done the same thing here in the cove where I'm at. And these fish are regarded, the Japanese come, you catch one of these, it's like 15, 20,000 for one fish. That's what they get. These guys caught this, they were carrying it, this is a big catch on the side of the boat. A great white that we have sometimes in Nova Scotia came out of the water. That's what they were left with. This was after the shark took, this is the fin of the swordfish. That was all that was left of their catch, which was like $20,000.
Wow.
And I just like the whole notion of before and after the shark, the idea that the fisherman boot here and the whole thing about the predators and the thing about predation with the species, and the catches are down because of the seals. The catches are down because of the whales. It's all other reasons. And I watch them daily, how the relationship they have with the lobsters, for example, how they throw them back in the water. They're supposed to, when you catch the lobster, it's supposed to be a certain size. I see guys doing this all the time. The size is small. It's not legal to hold this, but they pitch it back in the water like it's no reverence for the very thing that puts the food on the table. You know what I mean? It's like the very thing that their life is dependent on. They say, I'm a fisherman, I need the fish, and I got to, instead of taking care of that species and make sure that we cultivate more, they look like they don't care. They will fish the last one, and the ones that don't work right now, like for their life tomorrow, it doesn't matter. So they're just thinking about themselves right now, right here, nothing about the future. This is like so much about why the future is important in some ways, in this idea.
I love that. Oh, this is you again.
Yeah. And yeah, this is something I'm learning about this boat. This is my boat here. First, it was a river boat. And I took it out, and it's made from, it's very, I bought it from a guy on the South Shore and away from me. And he told me it was a river boat. He had an outboard on it. See where that back part is, you could see the outboard was there. But when I bought it without he didn't sell the outboard. I just bought the boat, and it was made of old fiberglass. It's very heavy, it's thick, it's indestructible, this. And I call it tubby. It's not, it's very stable. It's not tippy at all. It's a flat bottom boat, but it's the hell to row. You can't row it. So I put a keel on it. See, this keel worked out. But it only serves it to a certain degree. And recently, and this is like 30 years old, this fiberglass thing that I did, but I realized that I should have gone all the way to the tip. It will make a great difference how it cuts the water. Because right now, I could row it, but many of my friends who try to row it, they have difficulty because it's not stable. It's still not, it's better than it was without a keel, but it still is difficult. The wind could blow it around easily. Not tip it, but blow it around. Then this rock, a neighbor moved in, and this is my neighbor's yard, and this is the head of their driveway. They just uncovered this rock. It was just a bunch of wild trees and what do you call pine, evergreens, and they cleared it, and this for their driveway, and there's this rock. So I brought these two images together because there was somewhat a solution being considered. One, I'm acting on this object, this boat, trying to make it more conducive for what I need from it to row. This was somebody looking at a rock and saying, they cut all the other trees, or they moved everything away, but for some reason, they made the rock the entrance. It was like the statue, or it gave significance to the property somehow.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a beautiful rock, and somehow these two concerns are having some kind of relationship for me in a way that I think about function. And it's like I have another friend who works with rocks. I sent him this picture as a brother to some of his rocks. He tends to paint on them, or he scores them, where this is natural, but it's got all the instruments of on the surface. It's a beautiful surface. It's not flat, and it's very undulating but subtle, and like a rock being carved, but it's not carved. The boat's got all that wear and tear too. So the both surfaces and the shape, and I don't know, there's an appeal there. And when I see these things, I kind of stay with them for a while. And this is just a recording of some of that kind of encountering. Once I saw the rock, it took me back to what I was doing with the boat. I put them together.
So it's almost like you walk into the world and look at everything as if it's a museum.
Everything. Everything. Yeah, and sometimes I think, you know, I'm a hoarder, right? And my life is a museum. The problem there is I'm an artifact. See? And there's 3 A's, you know this. Artist, audience, artifact.
Mm,
So I wear these 3 hats. You are an audience, and you're an artist, and you're also an artifact. So, you know, you're creating and you're playing. Play is important, right? Play, isn't it? I think sometimes we don't, and that's another thing that leads me back there to the traffic thing. I think I had too much play, you know, in my deliveries. I remember Eric Cameron told me something. He went to see a show that I did at Center for Art Tapes. And he came back and he stopped me in the hall. Eric Cameron, great teacher. He's like one of the first people to develop video in Canada at Guelph. Do you know this artist? He was in the O Canada show, Eric.
Yep.
Okay. Eric came to me after seeing my show at the Center for Art Tapes, and he says, Michael, you know something about that show? And I said, well, what do you think, Eric? And he says, you could have done anything in there. You could have done anything in there. And that's, I remember him, that's exactly what he said. And I went away in a sense of wondering what that meant. And I've come to it more recently than then. I'm going to wear it. I could do anything. Like that show, you say, what would it look like? Could be anything. I like it to be. There's a sketch that I asked Laura to put in, which is called, I don't know, it's a sketch for an installation. It's a thumbnail little drawing, but it has a big vision. It's 2 mirrors, side left and right, on a wall, placed higher than human level, slightly higher. So it's slightly above 7 feet. Let's look in that range. But one mirror is reflected on the right into the left, the mirror on the left. So the mirror on the left sees the mirror on the right. Nothing comes between them. So the image from one mirror to the other is the same. It's the same image. There's something about that that is indescribably meaningful in terms of no separation, all comprehensiveness, all in you know, in a way of belonging, with no interference, with no sideshow. It's and completely full. I see that as being maybe you could say an epitaph in ways of looking at, for me, looking at my life, looking at the world, looking out, looking through. Ken Lam did a series with the mirror. I saw some of them. And the document, I always found it's interesting. When I see the documentation of them, with those mirror pieces, there's always somebody in the mirror. This piece, nobody could be in the mirror because nobody is that tall. And if there's a show for giants, I'm gonna make it higher than the giants to make it work. So I don't want anybody coming between the mirrors. And you know, it's like, you know, the what's his name? The guy who did the Jeff Koons piece with the Hoover machines. You know about that work, where the night in the museum, the cleaners, lazy or whatever, grab one of the machines and vacuumed up something and then cleaned it out and put it back. He found that out. He found out that one of the machines were actually used in cleaning the floor, even though they had taken time to clear it out. And like he found that out, and he instructed the people in the museum to go get another vacuum. It had to be unused.
Wow.
So there's something about that relationship and the importance of that in the mirrors, that once you put somebody in the mirror, once you see a reflection in the mirror is no longer full of itself, which to mirror, it has to be. And in that way, I like how the object becomes alive in the truth, in the truth of it, in the genuineness of when we look in the mirror, the idea of reflection and what that is all about. Why are we doing that? When the mirror sees itself, what more do we want? It's not a reflection. It's seeing itself. We are dealing with it not as ourselves, we're dealing with it as reflection. It's different. So this attachment or this sense of, I'm looking where materials become and can allow for transformation with the world, right? So it takes it to something else. And I saw with these two mirrors, to enact was a whole suitcase of interest for me. It's like, if I was only just to have one show left and one opportunity, it'll be the mirrors and it'll be everything. Going back to, you could do anything, back to the Eric Count quote, that means a lot to me. Where prior to that, way back in the 60s, it's the kitchen sink. There's a very different relationship with that judgment. Kitchen sink mean less. It's not significant. It's lacking. It's empty with stuff. It's too much, so it's diffused. It's not rigorous enough. They're citing ways of saying the work is not ephemeral, but what's the word? It carries no weight, no rigor, no depth.
Mm.
It's baseless. The kitchen sink. That's how everything goes in the kitchen sink. It's a collection of stuff. That ain't with the rigor of tension or dynamism. It lacks potential, right? You put everything in, it's nothing. It's like it's not given what the few ingredients are work as complementaries. So we make apple pie, it's about the apple. If we start putting, I like cherries, I like grapes, I like raisins, I like mangoes, what the hell is it? You know what I mean? At some point, like if you mix too many colors, you get mud. When we paint, trying to keep the colors alive, the less is best.
So we just had a comment come in from Craig Leonard. Empty with stuff versus full with nothing.
Yeah. But full. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If you are nothing, there's more potential, right? If you're something, you have something to defend. You're filled. You're taking yourself seriously. You're adding. You have nothing more to bring to. You think you know. I have conquered. I have become. I am. What? You say, I've learned this, I have studied this, I have given myself the opportunity, I am now awarded, I'm lauded, I'm a professional, I work in the field. These are all ways of becoming something, of saying that you're full. I'm an expert.
But at the same time, I would wager that you didn't spend much time chasing money or social clout or prestige. Those don't seem to be things that motivate you.
No, still don't, never did. But somewhere in there, I know I got to pay the rent. But I'm not looking for an excuse I'll find a way to do that. And I've always found a way. And as I trust as I go along, since I have, I continue. I trust more. And it has worked. You know, I mean, it's not a specific hand. The hand is very big. It's very big. You know, it's like a teacher told me this many ages ago, and I still carry it. We have enough food in the world right now to feed every unborn as well as every living being. We have enough food. If you think about that, that's a hard number to accept, because you think, no, we don't have. And this person told me we do. And I stuck with it, and I've come to realize we do. Why don't we? Check it out. It's all because of humanity. We don't, like, not humanity at the best, humanity at the lowest. Greed, all the things we do to prevent one from having, or how we look about control or ownership and all this stuff. You know what I mean? It's only stuff, but yet we identify with it. We become full of ourselves, and we think of ourselves being better than the other person, and vice versa. I mean, all these qualities I find kind of somehow in choosing or deciding to walk or to go matter, in terms of uncovering or just being curious, just being alive. It makes some notion of questionable who we are and what we are doing. They're big questions, right?
Yeah, and there was actually an earlier comment in the chat calling you a philosopher. Are you a philosopher more than an artist? Are you both? Is it the same?
What is a philosopher? What is an artist? If that person thinks I'm a philosopher, maybe a philosopher to them. I'm an artist. Another person will say, he's not an artist. I'm not an artist to them. That does not matter to me. If this is work, like the person who makes something else and says it's work, I don't see any difference between that other person and my work in terms of what I call work. It's like some idea you may have or another person may have that doesn't fit. I understand that. I may also have that. But I'm willing, if you're interested, if you are taking note, if you're sincere about anything, there is something to everything. We are just turning the pages very quickly because we're looking for what we want to see. And it's possible that standing in front of us right now is not being considered as seeing, because it's not what we are interested in. That's, I can't be interested for everybody, and I can't be responsible for everybody either, anybody. I could just be responsible for how I am. And that to me is the lead that I take. That's all I have. You've seen the movie Being There?
No, I haven't.
Well, there's an image. It should be.
I'm just going to note a comment from Mathieu Légère in the Q&A that says, both artists and philosophers expand ideas, same job. I just wanted to note that. And also note that we are well past the 1 hour mark. Believe it or not, we're at 6:12 now. So I don't know if you would want to go quickly through the remaining images to the ones that perhaps we could discuss, or we could open things up to questions. It's up to you.
You could open. This is a good image to stay with.
Well, I wanted to sort of get your thoughts on the commercial art world, which I also feel is something you don't pay all that much attention to. But this is a performative gesture that generated 120,000 US dollars. And, especially for people working in performance or people that, don't make objects for sale, we're in a time now where that's possible. And, this is a work by Maurizio Catalan, which I think is completely absurd and, points to a sort of sick commercial system. But I was wondering, that's what, the image of Art Basel and this image was sort of to sort of get your thoughts on the art system in general and whether or not you pay attention to what's going on there.
No, I don't. And I heard about this, and I also had people told me that somebody had stolen my idea. So I don't know if you knew of the banana work that I did. I did a banana piece several years ago, and it was in the front page of the Toronto Star, and it said the most expensive banana in the world. I was charging at the time $3,500. I wanted to charge $35,000 for it. When I spoke to the dealer, the show was at Page and Strange in Halifax many years ago. I can't remember. It was in the 80s, something like that. And it's a beautiful card that goes with the show. Anyway, what I did was simply, I put a banana in the window. That's all. She told me I could do anything I wanted. I put a banana in the window. But people would come in and say, "What's with this banana?" And I would tell them, "It's a banana." And they said, "Yeah, but is it a special banana?" I said, "No." They said, "Is it organic?" I said, "I don't know." Where did you get it from? I got it from Sobeys. So then they come on next day and they see the same, they think it's the same banana. But what I did was every day I traded the banana at the end of the day for a banana to look like the previous banana at the beginning of the day. So the banana is completely unchanging in the eyes of someone who's just looking. What the heck? It's got to be made out of something. It's not even getting ripe. This was for 6 weeks. What's going on here with this banana? Is it made out of fiberglass? I said, no, it's an actual banana. And I said, every day, I tell them what I do. Every day, I go choose another banana that looked like the one before, and I eat the previous banana in the gallery. They could join me, and I will eat with them. So somebody said, there were two people wanted to collect the banana, and they wanted to pay the $3,500 for it. Each was put forward an interest. And they said, I went for a dinner with one and tea with the other. And they both wanted me to put the banana in some kind of flux. They wanted to put it in a block. They wanted to halt the changing of the banana. So they wanted to, I'll pay you the $3,500 for it, but could you give me in a block of, what do you call, resin? So the banana, I have something. And I said, there's no something. There's no something. You could go to the store, you could buy a banana. If you want a banana, I'm not selling you a banana here. At the end of the day, the show, I eat the banana. What are you getting for $3,500? Is this, all this, the process of me doing this every day. Because the gallery would note, another banana today, whatever. So that's what you're getting. No, we want the banana. I said, there's no banana. Do you understand? Every day is a different banana. So, see, like back here, again, the price becomes something. Like right now, as you know, the virtual thing with a lot of the artists, and most of them are singers, songwriters, getting into the act. They're making the digital moves, right? and charging $1 million for a piece that is only some people could own and not own. What's the acronym for it? NFS or something? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So to me, they're doing, you ask me, that's a contemporary move, but it's with the same ambition, making money. I'm not interested in that. I don't care how they move. This was what this was about. My banana was not about making money. I wanted to, yes, I wanted to have 35,000 as a price on it. The Gary woman told me, the head of the owner of the Gary told me, the owner told me, Michael, that's ridiculous. I said, I want it to be ridiculous. No, you have a better chance to sell it for 3,500. I said, okay, let's sell it for 3,500. I agree. To me, it's all irrelevant. Yet at the same time, if you ask me what my banana is about, it's not about the art world, really. It's about trying to hold on to something. You know, you're trying to hold on to time, and you're moving the clock backwards by giving the impression it's an illusion. I presented them with something that they thought was why is this banana turning? It must be made out of something. No, I was telling them the truth. I change the banana every day, but for some reason, there's an expectation that even by changing the banana, there is one banana because it looks like one banana. You know what I mean? And I tell them, no, I eat the banana every day. So it's like 6 weeks of bananas I have eaten. The kitchen sink, back to the kitchen sink, on reworking it, moving it, you know, taking it apart and starting off at the level, but walking backwards. You know, it's all ways of making the journey more interesting, less obvious or less predictable.
So maybe this could be our last image to discuss. This was a work that you had donated as part of a fundraiser for like the Galerie du Nouvel Ontario, their Nouveau Louvre fundraiser that happens every year. And of course, it caught our attention. So let me just read what that what you hand wrote there. So La Flèche, for a room with a sympathetic wall and a willing participant X, somewhere high above eye level, the participant X will mark a chosen spot on the wall where the subsequent arrow will eventually be installed. Sometime in the future, I will complete the installation by shooting the arrow at the intended marked location. Signed, M. Fernandez. So Saw Gallery actually purchased the work because we, during our renovation projects, we're finding your name all throughout our history. And that's something, you know, we didn't talk much about, but sort of your impact in the Artist Run Center world was pretty, I mean, if everyone goes digging in their archives, I kind of feel like they're gonna find your name somewhere. And that, you know, object, which was sold for $200, which is, you know, a pittance, it's more about the action than it is about the object. So, you know, we look forward to hosting you soon so that you can shoot this arrow somewhere at SAW, and it'll stay there forever, just like everything else in our archive that relates to you.
I will never miss, guaranteed. I will never miss. I can't miss.
Yeah, you can't.
I cannot miss. That's simple. I cannot miss.
So, you know, maybe that's you know, a sort of good image to end on. I think it encapsulates a lot of your, you know, thinking around art and how we look at art and objects. It's really funny because we have someone on staff that's like, you know, until this happens, we should like frame it and put it somewhere. And I was like, no, I think Michael would kill us.
I may shoot you with another arrow. No, I'm not attached to it really. So one sees, you know, in the writing of the conditions, it may never happen, right? You see that. I made that quite evident. I might connect again. I may not. That's possible. We don't know. So I like that avenue of, again, not knowing what may become of this arrow or this idea of putting it somewhere. May never happen because I may never fulfill the dream. But that's life, right? And that doesn't make it less or greater. It just makes it is what it is. It's now. So I was very happy that they're quiet, and thank you so much. And for this too, this conversation, because I felt I was able to exercise some interest on my behalf from responding to your questions, and that gave me some solid support there. And I really thank you, and thanks to Danielle and to Laura and the whole gang and everything for doing, and the people there that I'm hoping that Leonard boy is wearing that yellow suit in the sun, and you know, maybe it's a banana pants he's got on. I'm not sure. More like a banana than, anyway, it's the moon though. It looks like a moon getting to this time of the night. Thank you so much, Laura. Thanks, gang. It was wonderful, and take care. Stay safe. All the best. Thank you.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Thanks to you, Michael.
Thank you.
It was wonderful, wonderful to work with you and to be with you for those 2 months.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you.
Merci, Jason.
Ça me fait plaisir.
Thank you.
Bonne soirée.
Toujours agréable. Thanks, everyone, for coming.
Beautiful.